So this is the iPhone 16 Pro Max, and it's been out for nearly a year already, but now we're going to do a comparison to the all-new Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 7 that is now available starting today. So you can actually pick this up in stores. They're probably going to be sold out in some locations, but for the most part, you should be able to cop one now for official sale. So let's go ahead and find out how the Z Fold 7 stacks up to a 16 Pro Max and if it's worth maybe trading and who's the winner here in 2025. So what is up, guys? Nick here, helping you to master your technology. And I know these phones aren't in the same exact segment, we're foldable versus slab style, but the Z Fold 7 now has a more traditional looking smartphone display. While it's still a little bit more narrow, it's getting pretty darn close. And some people might be considering doing a trade-in or already have done so and not sure they want to send out their 16 Pro Max. And they just want to know more about this before they jump into the foldable space. So let's first of all start with the price. Who's the winner here? Now, from a pure price perspective, of course the 16 Pro Max costs less, but it's not like way less. It's like maybe $600-700. When you consider what the Z Fold 7 gives you, it doesn't feel like way less because this is a dual screen phone. So you're getting a high-end front display now, and you're getting a 8-inch inner display. So it feels like if there was an iPhone foldable, that probably might retail a little bit higher than this Z Fold 7, maybe. So this does feel like they kind of both feel worth their price because you are getting two displays here. So of course it's going to be more than the iPhone. But from dollar for dollar, of course the iPhone is going to be the winner to save you money, no matter how you look at it. But from a value perspective, you are getting what you pay for with the Z Fold 7. It's basically two phones in one. Now, the second thing I want to talk about is the design. I'm giving this one to the Fold. I'm sorry, the iPhone is a beautiful product. It is refined. It just works. It's been around a while, but it just can't match the innovation and the looks of the Z Fold 7. This phone, look at how thin that is. This device is pushing the edge of innovation. So it's definitely a really beautiful looking, modern, sleek device. And I got it in the carbon shield case right here. But it's got that jet black look right here. And overall, it just feels more modern. The iPhone feels like they've been using that design for a while. And Z Fold has been similar for a while as well, but this one is finally bigger, thinner, lighter, bigger display. So it feels like a much more newer product here with this one, even if it has the same general experience. But that doesn't take away from the sleek and modern looking iPhone. The iPhone is just, at this point, I wouldn't say it's stale, but it's a bit boring. It needs a refresh in design. They did make the bezels thinner, but on the core experience, you kind of get over that after a few days and it still kind of feels like the same phone. And I know we're kind of at the peak level of what you can do with a slab style, but I don't know. Samsung proved that this year with the S25 Edge that you can make it thinner. You can do something new. So let's see what Apple brings with the iPhone 17 Pro Max. Now, when it comes to the build, quality, durability, I cannot call the Z Fold 7 the winner. While it is definitely much better than prior Z Folds and probably more durable than some other foldables on the market, when you first open this phone, it has to give you messages about taking care of your phone, automatically disqualified as the better build here because you don't even need these messages on iPhone or even Galaxy S25 Ultra. Pressing the screen when you fold the phone, make sure nothing's inside. This creates friction. This creates something I have to remember not to do. I don't like that. But at the same time, it is important that you know this so you don't damage the device. That's good. You don't want to damage it. On the other token, I don't really like that I have to remember all this stuff. But at the same time, it says it's water resistant, but if you get any liquid like fresh water or salt water, it could damage the phone. They're not saying it will, but it could. Don't remove the protective film. That goes back to the original Z Folds when people were taking the screen protector film off, messing them up. And this phone contains magnets. That's pretty general stuff. But then generally, this phone feels like the best fold ever in terms of refinement, where they're at this point in that journey. But the iPhone is still the more durable product here, as is Samsung's own Galaxy S25 Ultra. So just these slab style phones, they're still far more durable. They feel far more frictionless when it comes to remembering how to, about durability. Even if you just use a screen protector and leave the 16 Pro Max with no case, it's still super durable. This one, I don't know how I feel about leaving no case on a $2,000 plus smartphone right there. But on the other hand, I don't want you to feel like the Z Fold is like delicate. This is not delicate. This is still a very durable. They've had many years of refinement, and definitely it's great. Like, if it's ready for prime time was what I'm saying, ready for actual everyone to use. It doesn't feel beta anymore, but it definitely just doesn't hold up to standard smartphones in that department. Let's move on to display technology. Now, you might think it's a runaway victory for the Samsung Z Fold 7, but it's not 100%. Yes, the Z Fold 7 does have a much larger inner display, but they actually now have a punch hole. They didn't have that before. The outer display is not better, in my opinion, than the iPhone 16 Pro Max, of course, because they had to make it a bit smaller. It is 6.5, so it's getting close to the iPhone 16 Pro Max, but it's not, to me, it's not an overall better display because you are working with a narrower aspect ratio. While they do have very bright front panel, they're pretty similar in resolution and things of that sort, both 120 hertz, but it doesn't have the same aspect ratio. This one is so much easier to type on and use day to day. However, what is better is how Samsung takes advantage of the display with multitasking abilities. And yes, you can do the multitasking on both the front and the inner screen. So even though the screen is a little bit more narrow and smaller, you can still do multiple things at once. So Samsung does much better in that department. Also, the inner display, while it is beautiful, it still does have a crease. If we go ahead and turn it this way, you can see it right there on that angle. It's still not creaseless, no matter what you might have heard. This phone still has a crease right there on that angle. But head on, you really don't see it too much. And I think this might be the last year we see a crease on these foldable smartphones. At the same time, when it comes to multitasking, the inner display definitely destroys the iPhone 16 Pro Max. But that's the thing, it has to be for multitasking. One of the areas that is kind of shocking, though, is that with the Z Fold, certain applications actually show less content. So let's go over here to my Instagram page. Now, if I open up Instagram here on a slab style phone like the iPhone 16 Pro Max, you can see, let me scroll down a bit here. You can see I'm actually showing more content on the left, even though this is optimized for Z Fold. However, that's not always better. It's not always like that. For example, if I go over here into a news application, we'll just use Apple News here. We'll use Google News on this side. I know it's the same app, but you'll do more scrolling there versus on an app like this. It's more tablet optimized, so you'll see more articles like this on here. Also, the Z Fold can use the internet and have multiple tabs spread across the top. Plus, you get more apps in the dock down here because it's just more spread out. So you kind of have this tablet-y-like experience on the Z Fold 7. And if you go into the Galaxy Store, download GoodLock, you can actually change how you multitask here. You can change animation speeds, and you could tweak around with this and get this a lot more like a tablet. So it's much more versatile in that sense with the display. But the games sometimes do get cut off depending on what you're playing. So they're not perfect here, and you will get black bars on certain videos. Whereas everything is just a bit better optimized for the display on the iPhone. But at the same time, look at that display though. That is a huge, enjoyable display. So it's not really close when we open up that inner panel. So I am looking forward to seeing a folding iPhone in the future. But if you just want a really great standard display, that's going to be the iPhone. But if you want multitasking and the versatility that the Fold comes with, it's really no contest. The Z Fold 7 is winning there. So let's talk about software. The user preference is going to be a very big factor here. I say Apple for faster updates. Also, I don't say for more stability though. I do think Samsung's One UI has been doing phenomenal in stability. Even if you don't get updates as fast as the iPhone, you still get them pretty quickly compared to a lot of other Android phones, and they tend to focus more on the higher end devices. So you will see it on the S line. The Z line will get them pretty quickly as well. So it's an enjoyable experience while the time you will be owning this phone. Just much more versatility. We already know, I don't need to go on and on about this, about how you have all these extra features on the Samsung. I mean, you got 2 app stores even. You got, if you go into settings here and you go down to advanced features, you got a ton of features to play around with. Them removing the S Pen, I am super not a fan of that, especially with the bigger display now, bigger outer display. Having an S Pen working on both the outer and the inner display that can tuck into the body, I know that's really, really hard to achieve. That would be a dream for the Z Fold 7. It really would have been. Even if they had a skinnier stylus that goes on the back of the case, even like they did on the Z Fold 6, I still would have liked support on both screens even. I know that is incredibly hard to pull off and keep it thin. There is a trade-off there, but I'm just saying that's the dream. I can dream, let me dream. That's kind of like what I dream of happening for a future Z Fold 7. But yeah, it's just Samsung through and through. You get all that extra software features. It's the full tool device. More simple, but still giving you more customization than ever. Liquid glass, updates. Some people love it, some people don't. It's really up to you, but I think Apple's ecosystem is still stronger than Samsung's, mostly because they tie the Mac into the Apple Watch, iPad, and iPhone. The software all just feels so much more similar than I feel like the Galaxy phone with the Galaxy Book, and the tablet is close to the phones, and the watch is also very close to the phones. But I think the key separator is probably the optimized apps for iPad and also the MacBook. Those are the key separators for me when it comes to the ecosystem. Definitely. Also, they're using Android, not their own proprietary operating system on the Galaxy. So definitely less tighter control. It's more like a Google Samsung experience versus the iPhone is pure all Apple controlled. So it kind of feels more tightly locked down. So when it comes to performance, I'm not going to run a speed test here with the beta, but we can take a look at some of my previous scores, and you'll see that, hold on, my results. You'll see that they actually score pretty similar. That's a 44.39 on my last score I took on June 10th, which was about a month and a half ago. But let's go ahead and look here. I just did one the other day on the Galaxy Z Fold, and you can see it scored nearly the same, around 45.28, around 27 FPS. They both score pretty close. Z Fold maybe slightly ahead, but generally they're pretty much a tie in performance. I actually feel like the Z Fold 7 is not as fast as the S25 Ultra, but it's still very quick with the 8 Elite. You have to go for the highest storage too to get the 16 gigabytes of RAM, so that's not fun, but you will get 12 gigs. For most people are going to be getting 12 gigs on there. That's still up over the 8 gigabytes of RAM on the iPhone, but remember iOS, a lighter OS, it doesn't really need as much RAM to compete well. That's been proven year after year. And when we talk about the area of cameras, I think the Fold is impressive, but I just can't say it's better than the iPhone. The iPhone is still the camera I'm going with for the best overall reliability for day-to-day. Also, we do have ourselves really good camera control button for getting those shots pretty quickly. That's to me even faster to operate than a double click of the power button. 4K 120. And it's not always just about not having 8K and stuff like that. It's that each of the lenses, I don't care if you're on this one, or this one on the front, they all tend to upload to social media super sharp. And that's something you can't overlook because a lot of people just use the cameras for social media. But the 48 megapixel ultra wide and the video quality is so superb on the iPhone. It's just a really great experience. Although some people don't really like the look. Now, that will depend on you. Now, what I like about the Samsung camera though is I think it looks very sharp, the photos. I like the way sometimes I like a softer photo and the Samsung tends to give me that. I think it gives you more zoom as well, which is nice. However, when you go to this 20x, 30x, it's not super sharp. It does get rather noisy. Over here in video, you can say I have the better spec. I have 8K 30, but are you really going to be uploading 8K or just using up all your storage? I never really use 8K for that specific reason, but if you want to use it, you are ahead of the iPhone there. If we go to more, it has more versatility in the video, but when I upload it to social media, it doesn't look quite as good, in my opinion. But definitely, if you look at the modes, they are more fun. I will say Z Fold is the best ever for a Z Fold. You can now do 200 megapixel camera photos, and they definitely compete well enough for you to switch from the iPhone if you wanted to. But I just feel like the overall consistency is still a little bit better for iPhone. So I'm going to give iPhone the win there, but it's not like way ahead. It really isn't. The Z Fold 7 is not messing around. They still have a really good camera in pretty much every department. So if you wanted to make the switch, you are not going to be like, oh man, I miss my iPhone camera so much, unless you used it a lot for social media, then I feel like you might miss it a bit because it's really, really still the strongest in that department. Now, when it comes to battery life, this is no contest. The iPhone 16 Pro Max destroys this phone in my experience so far. It just lasts longer. We have a big battery in here. This is just a standard slab. iPhone, very efficient. They even does fine here on the beta as well because they've been doing some upgrades to the latest betas. It's doing okay here. But it just lasts longer. It actually, in my experience, lasts longer than the S25 Ultra as well. Although that phone lasts pretty darn long too. This outlasted that in my day-to-day type of use. The thing with battery life though is it's kind of hard to judge it. And again, I'm comparing these phones. Some people are going to say, don't listen to this guy. I have the Z Fold. It lasts all day. I didn't say it doesn't last all day. The phone lasts all day and then some. And this is a 1 to 1.5 day phone for a lot of people. Lighter users, this would be a 2-day phone, the Z Fold 7. But the iPhone could probably be a 3-day phone if you're a lighter user. It just lasts longer. The inner screen, though, really drains the battery here. So if you're a heavy user on the inner screen, this is a daily charge for the Fold. But the Fold is a faster charging phone. So faster charging than the iPhone. So it's definitely ahead there. And specification-wise, it tends to have a few more upgraded specs over the iPhone. That's usually the case with Samsung. They outspec the iPhone. But that doesn't mean they always perform better in the real-world experience. Now, the storage value is going to go to the Z Fold. They tend to give you more storage usually on discounts, although if you miss the pre-order, you have to wait till the next like super sales, like maybe an upcoming holiday, the Christmas time. That's when they'll get more sales on these phones. And sometimes they'll throw in a carrier discount. Things with carriers will throw in discounts and stuff of that sort, or keep the promotions going a little bit longer past the pre-order. Sometimes they do that. But generally, the storage, you're going to get more for less. And I think that's related to Samsung making their own storage, like SSDs, SD cards. They make storage. So I think it's easier for them to discount it as well. But definitely the iPhone going to cost you a bit more there. Now, when it comes to real world value, what I mean, like, how does it actually feel to use in the real world? I feel like in the real world, the iPhone is the better phone to use day to day for most consumers. It's just frictionless. It's just, you open it up, the camera always works, it always performs well, it's simple to use. It runs in the background while you move on with your day to day. The Z Fold is not as frictionless. I actually have to put some pressure right there to open this new thin design and get up in there. Now, it is beautiful though. Once you are in there, it is a beautiful experience and it is a flashy phone. Don't get it wrong. Anybody's going to say, what is that you are using over there? If they don't know what this is. It's definitely an impressive phone. Also, from the front, it now looks like a regular phone. So if you just hold this, no one's really going to say anything. And while it is light, it's about as lighter, if not a little bit lighter than the 16 Pro Max. There's still a little bit more management between having a front display and an inner display. I think of it like having dual display setups at your desktop. You got to manage both of them. Well, you got to manage both of these here. Of course, you can go in the settings and change the cover screen mirroring so it does mirror, and then you don't really got to manage much. But why would you want to have that? Because why would you want it like that? Don't you want to like have the Z Fold be a tablet on the inside and a phone on the outside? That's kind of the point of this product anyway. So that doesn't mean it's a problem though. Some people like doing a little bit of tinkering and playing around with their phone. And if you like tinkering, this one will make you have fun all day long. It's just cool. Like the Z Fold 7 compared to the iPhone just has a cool factor the iPhone just cannot replicate at this time. But you still got to be careful with your $2,000 folding phone versus this tank of a beast iPhone 16 Pro Max. It feels a slightly more delicate day to day versus using a product like this that's just your daily tool of a device. And cases and accessories will be a lot easier to find for the iPhone, although a lot of people are on board with the Z Fold 7 as well, so you're seeing a lot of these pop up on the market. But the iPhone is always going to have the widest availability of accessories, cases of that sort. Reception strength is actually stronger on the Z Fold 7, so if you do want to make phone calls, stuff of that sort, they're both good. The iPhone's strong as well, but this one was a little bit better in that area. So wrapping it up, my final verdict, who is the real winner? Well, there was about 5 wins for the iPhone. There was about 4 or so for the fold, and about 3 ties. So I think overall, the iPhone is just barely scraping by with a win in terms of the better phone to pick here as a phone for most consumers. However, the Fold is got way more advantages when it comes to the media consumption on the inner display, the outer display, the functionality, the tool aspect of this having a tablet and a phone on the outside. It's just more fun. And I think it's definitely at the point where if you switch, you're not going to be super disappointed. You might even be super happy. But again, it depends on which ecosystem you're heavily invested in, the Apple or the Android ecosystem will really depend. Or if you use a lot of third-party cross-platform apps, you'll be fine to switch easily. But I feel like even the base, the regular iPhone, even though it's a different segment, it's just barely scraping by right now. So I think it's time Apple brings a Fold at this point. It really is. The Z Fold 7 represents one of the finest examples of a Fold yet. However, it does have some drawbacks like no S Pen. They removed the S Pen on here, and they do have a punch hole camera on the inside now. They used to have like a full display with the UDC camera, although that wasn't the sharpest. It still made the inner display look like a full screen. They don't got that anymore, but it's still one of the best ever made, if not the best Fold ever made, and it's definitely a winner if you want to go ahead and try out the Fold. So they're very, very tight with the iPhone barely scraping by, even on all aspects of the device. Before, it wasn't really close because there was that narrow, skinnier screen, but now we have a phone that's nearly as thin. Maybe when it's open, it's even thinner. We also do have a lighter. We have a similar size display on the front, not too far off. This is a great option this year. Let me know your thoughts. Let's discuss it down below in the comment section of this video. Thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you haven't already. Nick here. Be sure to be well, and peace.